Earlier, you were able to see what a frame of healthy brood looked like in a hive. Now we just want to point out a couple of signs that you can see in your visual inspection that would tip you off that you might want to take a sample, or in this case, look for European Foulbrood or American Foulbrood, two bacteria that can be very detrimental, pathogenic, and virulent for honeybees. So if you'll notice on this frame, we do have some cells of nectar. You can see that with the liquid here. We also have some cells of pollen down in the bottom that bees collected, and some bee bread that bees have cured that pollen they collected. And then, of course, in the far corner, you'll notice we have some cells of capped brood. Some of them are a little bit darker in color, some of them are lighter in color. Now, if you'll notice this patch, kind of a little bit of variation, but somewhat of a tight-knit grouping where the queens have laid eggs and cells adjacent to each other. But just above this is a very different color of these little partition of cells here. A little darker, a little sunken in shape, and something that should catch your eye as you do an inspection, that these do not look like the cells that appear to be healthy on the lower part of the frame. And then you'll notice here, even in this cell, it's very sunken in. Again, very dark. There's a little string of these cells. So these are things that when you're doing an inspection, you want to look for something that looks quote unquote abnormal, or something that doesn't look like the rest of the frame that you find to be healthy. So these would be cells that could potentially be suspect, and you want to probe those as you're going through to take your samples. Now that we've identified a few of these suspect cells that we mentioned earlier, you'll notice I've opened up a couple of the cappings here, and actually they were suspect for a reason and should have again caught your eye as not being normal. You'll notice that these do contain a fungus known as chalkbrood, and so you'll see inside of these cells there's a reason that these were left sunken in and misshapen. So they do have definitely some questionable bees. And possibly some health issues. And this cell, of course, is even better because it does have what appears to be a misshapen, underdeveloped bee that's very dark in color. That is not what that should look like. And you can see very different colored, mouse-shapen individual underneath here. So this is definitely something that you would want to take a sample of and would be suspect. So it should catch your eye, hopefully, as you do an inspection. Now, if we compare that with the cells that are around it that appear healthy, let's probe a couple of those. I'm going to use an alternate end here of our Q-tip. You'll notice what they look like if we probe a cell, again, that's suspect. So something like this cell, where you've got, again, chalkbrood that's coming out of that cell, versus something like one of the healthier cells on this side of the frame. You'll notice when we probe these, we actually get an individual bee that's developing underneath that capping. So that's really nice white color you see. This bee is developing and appears to be healthy, versus these bees that are definitely miscolored, misshapen, and not healthy underneath that capping. So very different in what we see in the different types of cells. So never hurts to take a couple of samples, probe a few of them. I always say, when in doubt, probe it out. So, definitely use your Q-tip or any other probe that you have with you. And actually this bee, this cell could be suspect, but if you look very closely, this bee is actually chewing out. So we've got an individual bee that's going to be emerging soon. So you might get a couple of faces looking at you when you do a couple of these probes. So just be really gentle as well, and take good attention to detail.